presented by the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers. To find out more about this vital energy source for Canada and the world, like their page at facebook.com.
You're about to travel to another dimension, a dimension of disbelief for eyes, ears, and mind. A journey through a terrifying land, where apologists know no boundaries. Your next stop, the liberal zone.
Carried away when I saw some of the left-wingers with their backs to me, so that's you want to play with a bull, you get the horn.
So who do you define as a pinko?
It's not right-wing. You asked me a question.
Of course.
I'm answering.
Well, because I'm actually responding to something you had done.
Don Cherry, they either love him or they hate him. Now, regular viewers will know that having a beef with the CBC, well, it's nothing new on this program, on this network, but usually the complaints, well, they come from a more right-wing angle. Small government people, fiscal conservatives, that sort of thing. Well, our next guest represents Rebel Youth magazine, which is the publication of the Young Communist League. They've got a petition online alleging that CBC, and I quote, seems to have become a bastion of right-wing commentators. They want one commentator in particular fired. Joining me now from Montreal is Johan Boyden from the Young Communist League. Johan, thanks so much for joining us. Now I got to ask, who's the commentator who you think should be let go from the CBC and why?
Well, we've started a petition called Fire Kevin O'Leary, and your viewers probably know of this man. And with the people who are writing in on our petition are describing him as nasty, obnoxious, and we agree completely. We think that this is not the direction for the CBC to go. It's the face, in a way, of austerity, the face of job cuts. People, his direct attack, particularly at unions, is what we're singling out. I'd like to just ask you a really quick question.
Sure.
A quote from our petition is actually a quote from Mr. O'Leary.
Yeah.
It says that unions are sheer evil and must be fought with evil. Do you agree? Would you sign our petition?
I don't think I'd agree with his statement, but I wouldn't sign the petition. And I want to ask you a follow-up question, because I always think that the answer to these problems is just sort of more free speech, like having a blog or a newspaper column saying this is why Kevin O'Leary's wrong, or writing in on the CBC website. I mean, why isn't that enough to counter the things you don't like about O'Leary?
Well, Mr. O'Leary, let's just get the facts clear, seems to have taken over CBC. He's a voice that we see on several shows. There's Shark Tank off the CBC, but there's also Dragon's Den and, of course, the Lang-O'Leary Exchange. So we're not talking about somebody who's got a blog. We're not talking about somebody who is on the internet, out in the ether.
But maybe, do you think the reason why, Johan, do you think
your living room on a daily basis?
But do you think maybe the reason why that they gave him more shows? I don't know. We filed FOIs with the CBC. They don't tell us much about their operations. I'm guessing he was good for ratings, and people liked him, so they responded to that.
That's why we put, as part of our petition, and we're certainly seeing this resonate with people as well, that it's time to restore and expand the funding to the CBC today. We need to break away from this attack from outside the CBC. We also need to, defend the CBC by not having an attack from within. And I think that the values that Mr. O'Leary expresses, which are anti-labor, anti-working people, they're repeatedly sexist. The one issue that he has actually been called on by the CBC ombudsperson is his racism of using the phrase Indian giver in the context of the Saskatchewan potash sellout.
So let me just get this one.
Very inflammatory.
Let me just get this one thing straight. So you want to expand the CBC, grow its budget, but on certain terms. You want to set limitations to it on your own terms. The right people, in your view, should be the ones speaking there.
Yeah, well, the terms that Canadians have fought for and won to some extent are expressed in the CBC's own journalistic standards. And the journalistic standards, you can find them on CBC's website. I have a quote from them here. We will choose a tone that will not gratuitously offend audience sensitivities. In particular, we avoid swearing, coarse, vulgar, offensive, and violent language. And I ask you, when somebody says unions should be fought with evil in the context of workers across this country being fought by the Harper Conservative government, having their rights denied.
But Johan O'Leary
lockouts.
appears on an opinion show. It's an opinion. He's voicing it. You and me are on an opinion show right now. We're disagreeing. The sky isn't falling. I want to get your reaction on one thing. I know you have about 750 people have signed this. They put comments. There's one comment I just wanted to throw to a guy, Troy Zoner from Prince George. He said, "It is important to me because I do not believe his message is socially responsible. I feel this is poor form on CBC's part to promote his ideological money over everything. It's extreme, fascistic, dictator-like. It is time he was way off the CBC." This guy's just saying, I don't like his views, so I don't like him on TV. I mean, that's what they say about me, about this network. Shut him down because I don't agree with him.
Well, that sentiment is out there, and I'm also a critic of Sun News. I think that Sun News is basically an example of how the right-wing media is owned by the large corporations, and how media increasingly in Canada is completely dominated by a corporate agenda. The popular phrase, the 1%. So I think that this is something that a lot of people are waking up and are viewing very critically. I think your network is under a lot of scrutiny by progressive-minded Canadians, people who value peace instead of war, people who value employment instead of mass joblessness.
Johan, I'm not doing this because you're speaking ill of us, but we are out of time. It was a set segment. We got to go. But, I know you said we're corporatist owned. I know we'll definitely plug the magazine. I let you say the stuff about Sun News. We're evil corporate owned, whatever it is. But we let you speak. And again, Kevin O'Leary. You let Kevin O'Leary speak.
Why don't you hire me as a commentator? You could have me as the radical left winger.
Well, we'll have you on more then if you and I can get into more arguments like this, sir. Because I think you're way off. But I thank you for coming on. All right, RebelYouthMag.com. You can check it out there. What do you think about Johan? Right, if you watch this show.